Hello, welcome to the After the show where Jason and I talk about AdWords. And this time we are discussing um, Q&A. So we're answering questions from the guys that have messaged us through our website, Paid Search Podcast, and sent questions through Facebook or Twitter or any of the other ways that you can get in touch with us. So Jason, you ready to disperse some solicited advice?
Q&A all day. Let's do this.
Q&A all day. All right, cool. I like it. All right, so first question comes from Ty. Ty wants to know when a conversion is normally defined is it is in the context of a purchase, and he wants to know what our thoughts are about the value of conversions when it comes to how to track something when it's more difficult to track than just a purchase. So, for instance, he's not able to necessarily track the purchase online. It's more about a lead. It's more about different ways that someone can qualify themselves beyond just a click.
Right. So if I remember correctly, he had a kind of a large ticket item that you don't get a sale from the first interaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that so first answer would be that doesn't mean AdWords isn't going to work just because you can't track initial conversions. So you can add a lead form to your website. So get a quote now, get more information. You can track conversions that way. You can track phone calls through mobile click to calls, calls on the website using something called AdWords call tracking, and then you can use a third party provider like CallRail. You can also do analytics tracking, and if someone spends 3 minutes on the website, you can call that a goal completion because it's showing a high level of interest. Excuse me. Or you can track if they view the contact page. Because again, that shows a level of interest that they want to contact you. So I use those for one client actually who doesn't have any other way to track conversions, and it's better than nothing. So you can let that guide you in terms of what you do with your keywords and your ads because you can see which ones are at least showing a level of initial interest. So
Yeah.
is that kind of what you think too, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I laid out some specific answers, and I'll just run through these really quickly. I had some specific examples for different clients. So I have an online furniture store that sells a very expensive product. He doesn't have any need for someone to fill out a lead form or anything like that. So it's basically either you purchase or you don't purchase. So it's kind of difficult because he gets very few conversions, maybe one or two a month at this point. So for him, we wanted to identify that the traffic was engaging with the site. So bounce rate was the first thing that we were thinking about. We had a really high bounce rate. Let's work on getting that bounce rate lower. So for that one, pretty simple, straightforward, not even a form, just interaction with the site. Home remodeling company, we basically just use analytics to track leads coming from a form on their website, right? Pretty standard. And then a large farm equipment company. This is something that is particularly difficult because it's mainly due to the website, but he doesn't have a lot of ability for people to track. He doesn't have anything except purchasing the farm equipment, very expensive farm equipment online, and he doesn't have any forms or lead forms or anything like that. So for this client, what we did was we actually lay out the search queries and say, this is the search queries that are coming in. And that's the way I can identify that the traffic is valuable. It's just basically down to this is what you're getting from AdWords, and this other side is what you're getting from your organic
Yeah.
listings. And in the end, it's a very different layout. Organic is basically his company name. AdWords is unique traffic, returning non-returning visitors, and very on point searches for exactly what he's selling.
Yeah, that's what the main thing I would tell Ty is that conversion tracking is excellent if you can get it done, But if for some reason it's not a good fit for your business model, or you don't have the capabilities with your website to get it implemented, focus on that search queries, because we always talk about it, but you get to advertise on exactly what you offer. And and being able to see what people search for when they see and click on your ad is so, even if you have no conversion tracking, is so much more powerful than TV or radio or the phone book or whatever, where you're basically in the dark.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the phone book, they say they track numbers, but especially TV and radio and magazines and print, totally in the dark in terms of who's seeing your ads. Google, focus on the search queries. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump to another question we got. This one from Facebook from Jason. Jason had a question about low search volume keywords. I had apparently mentioned at some point, or you had, somebody did, in the previous podcast,
Right.
is about searching how to deal with low search volume keywords. And he says, I understand why you wouldn't want to spend your time there, but do you stop bidding on those keywords altogether? And if so, why? I'll start with the answer on this one. Basically, low search volume keywords, if they sit around for a few weeks, I get rid of them. But as I've been paying more attention to it, I've actually been struggling with some campaigns that have low quality score. And in struggling with that, I found out that sometimes the low quality score can be due to having some of those low search volume keywords in your account. So deleting those out can clean a lot of that up, can help improve your quality score. So since then, I've actually been getting even more strict and saying, if I have it for a week and it hasn't even gotten a single impression, I delete it. So short answer to Jason is basically don't mess with them. If it's a low search impression, people aren't searching for it. Google already knows that. And in the end, your more broad terms, I say that I don't mean match type. I'm talking about
More common.
More common. Thank you, Jason. Yes. So that's
So I would say to everyone who asks this question, go ahead and do it.
what.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start answering, Chris. Is go ahead and no, I'm just kidding. And Jason out there, I'm not saying this is you, but there is I'll get into this rant in a second. But so my honest answer to Jason is don't advertise on them. The first thing is make sure they're actually truly low volume, and he's not just bidding too low and not getting impressions. You can get yourself in you can trick yourself that way, and maybe you're not bidding high enough to get the impressions, and they truly are regular or high impression. You're just not bidding high enough. So make sure you're bidding high enough. And then another way you can get yourself in a trap is if you're targeting another ad group with a broad match keyword, and maybe that keyword's picking up what you think is the search term that's low volume. You can get yourself in trouble that way. But if it's truly a low volume keyword, and you can verify that in the keyword planner, which everyone out there, the keyword planner does not lie about search volume. If it says 0 searches a month, it's 0 searches a month.
Yeah.
99% of the time. If it truly is low volume, don't mess with it, because if it's low volume, nothing good is going to come from it.
Yeah.
And by low volume, that's a very vague term. When I think of low volume, I think of 0. Yeah. If something gets 10 searches a month,
okay.
Yeah, because maybe that 10 means 20. Maybe with phrase and broad match, you can show up more often. But if it's truly 0, and that's what I'm calling low volume, don't waste your time with it, because if no one is searching for the keyword, you can't advertise on it.
What about exact phrase broad? Do you change it from exact to broad? Do you try if you have it in exact, do you change it to broad?
Well, my default is always phrase and exact usually. Mm-hmm. So phrase should pick up some stuff, and broad match modified, which I usually use, should pick up some stuff. But when I'm thinking low volume, I'm thinking 0. So if I see something says 0 in the keyword planner, I don't waste my time with it, and I don't clutter my account with it. And if it turns out that people do search that keyword, I'll pick it up with broad match keywords in other ad groups, and I'll see that in the search details report. But this is if it's 0, it's 0, and no one's searching for it, and that's the truth. Yeah. And I get this question all the time: is how people try to game the system. I want to target long tail keywords.
Yeah.
I want to pay less than everyone else. I want to have a lower conversion cost per conversion, and it just doesn't work like that. If people aren't searching for your keyword, there's nothing you can do about it. So there's no benefit from it. The downside is that, like you said, Chris, it can drag your quality score down overall on your domain. It can clutter your account, which is a huge issue for me because I like clean accounts, making good decisions. And it just makes the job of managing an AdWords account way more difficult than it should be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Now, Jason, it seems while you called me out about the branding terms in our podcast, it seems you have a little bit of maybe pent up.
It's not my problem, Chris. Everyone else has a problem. It's not my problem. I think the reason, and you're right, it is pent up.
It's okay. You can breathe.
It's a very tough thing. And the toughest part about it, Chris, is I don't mind explaining to people because AdWords is a beast.
Yeah.
It's a beast. And that's why we do our podcast. That's why we're employed, is because there's so much to understand about it. And so I understand the initial confusion or questions, but there is a long tail, and I've got a name for them, which I don't say on the air, but there's like a cult of long tail people, and they don't take the truth for an answer.
Yeah.
But the way the pet peeve comes from me is because I explain it very calmly, very clearly. If no one's searching for your keyword, if it's showing 0 in the keyword planner, no one's searching for that keyword.
Yeah.
So, yes, I can take the time, which we're all running out of,
Every
we only
day.
have so much limited time in life in general.
Yeah.
And do you want to spend 5% of your working life building out imaginary ad groups that are never going to get traffic?
That nobody's going to appreciate. Yeah.
Right.
It's so I think that the problem is that there's this underground.
Well, I know why there is, Chris, because long tail in SEO somewhat works.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's where it comes from. It comes from the SEO world.
The SEO world. Okay.
I have a background in. I use the long tail for my own website for keyword traffic, for organic search. But what people think of long tail in SEO, they're going to the keyword planner or tools that people pay money for that take data from the keyword planner, and they see, okay, car insurance gets 1 million searches a month, but cheap car insurance companies in the Woodlands, Texas gets 10 searches a month or 30 searches a month. I'm going to make an article about that and get that little bit of traffic. That kind of works for SEO, but 30 to 40 searches a month in AdWords, that's not long tail to us.
Yeah.
That's a good keyword. It seems like in AdWords, people who want to talk long tail want to talk about keywords that get 0 searches a month. And the pet peeve comes from people not accepting
the answer, yeah.
That the keyword planner says 0 a month, and that's the reality. So I do my best, as Adam Carolla says, live reality on reality's terms. If the market is saying that they don't want your service, you've got to change. If they're saying you're charging too much, you got to lower your prices. If you're not being a good boyfriend, your girlfriend will leave you. You got to be on reality's terms.
Getting real.
If the keyword planner says 0 searches a month, Chris.
Yeah.
But the pet peeve is that it seems like a certain group of people have long tail phraseology built up in their mind.
Yeah.
They don't accept that 0, and that's where the pet peeve comes from.
There's no. Jason and I are not keeping a secret from everyone to make you think that there's this whole whole other level of finding keywords that are just magical keywords. Those keywords are already found.
There's no hacks. There's
And so, Jason, basically there was very likely a reason for some of the longer tail keywords to exist, maybe in AdWords at some point. But I'll say, with the introduction of Google Suggest, my thinking is that possibility is long gone. Because when you type something into Google, any unique thought that you might have about what you want to search will be gone, because Google suggests what you're looking for, and you are very likely to choose that suggestion, which is a much more popular term, than doing some type of unique search that nobody's ever done before. You start typing, it gives you some
That is an
suggestions,
excellent point.
and now suddenly the variety of searches has condensed, and now long tail keywords are even less likely to happen. So, I mean, that's just a thought I had back years ago when Google Suggest started, was that the uniqueness of searches will start going down.
Right. No, that's a great point. We still all kind of talk differently, but even that, I mean, social media and everything's global, and we're all kind of
Yeah.
getting into the same mindset. So yeah, that's a great point. So yeah, bottom line, first define what quote unquote long tail or low volume is. For us, we see people in AdWords refer to zero searches as long tail, and then if it's zero, and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So what was our last question?
So, last question is from Ross, who is interested in our input on how to get started in the paid search area. Right? He
Right.
wants to get into the entry level PPC type of job. So, I'm sure we both have opinions about
Yeah,
this.
I was hearing some of
Different
yours. Yeah.
different experience. I'll tell you, Ross. I have some bad experiences with agencies in the past because they have their own terms in how they do things, right? They have their own reasons for doing things, and sometimes your experience can be very tunnel tunnel focused on how they get things done, right? You don't get a whole lot of variety, but there's also some very good advantages to working with an agency, in that you get to meet other people that have different opinions. You learn about strategies, and they will pay for you to go to conferences, and they'll give you, training and stuff like that. And then you have something in your resume. My other suggestion, which could be just as hard as landing an agency job, which could give you even better credentials and better experience, is go for some local businesses that are in your area, and offer your services. Be honest with them and say, listen, I really want to do this. I want to learn how to do it, but I have to have something to work with. I know this much about AdWords, but I want to expand that. And if you're willing, I'd like to charge you maybe a small amount to manage your campaign. I'll provide input for you, and it'll help me learn. It'll help your campaign because I'm learning off of your campaign, something like that. And now you've got a real world situation where you've got a real client that's trying to generate real leads, instead of you trying to meet what your boss is trying to tell you to get done in for the agency. Your boss is telling you, I need 50 more clicks for this. That's not real world standards. They're trying to meet a quota that their client has given them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts.
So yeah, so before you've got two options. The first part of how to learn about it before you even get into it, and how to get an agency job, is one, I'd say read my website, Rothman PPC. I got good articles on there. Listen to our podcast, because there's no one else is going into this detail and this honest detail about AdWords. Go to Amazon, buy a book, read the books, and then what Chris was saying is great advice. I would say go to those companies and do it for free.
For free? Okay.
Yeah, do it for free. Start with one. You got to know someone. Every business can advertise on AdWords. Tell them to give you a $500 a month budget, and take what you learned from our websites, our podcasts, books, and start that one campaign. A couple more things is, once you're running a campaign, call Google. I have gotten so much great advice from Google employees. I found out about search impression share from them. I found out about the keyword detail. This is years ago, before I knew any of this. And honestly, that was probably the biggest thing for me, was managing campaigns at an agency, combined with calling into Google and getting a tremendous amount of free advice and powerful advice. So, I would say that's the number one way to learn, is actually doing it. But get yourself a little bit of a base by reading about it. Try to do it on one campaign, and then call Google and get a bunch of help. Google's articles, their help articles, are tremendous. Chris, all the information is out there.
Yeah.
You just have to find it, and Google help articles, it definitely have it there. And then in terms of trying to do it yourself versus trying to do it as an agency, I went the agency route, and I didn't even know about AdWords until I worked at an agency doing SEO. So to me, if you can find a good one you like working for, that's the way to go, because they take care of everything for you. You don't have to worry about billing, running a business, getting clients. You can strictly use them to learn about AdWords and get better at this skill set, and then get paid to learn. So
Sure. That's a good point.
yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, that's we appreciate questions. Jason and I, can talk all day long, but unless we're addressing things that you guys want to know about, it's all in vain. So be sure and send your question in. Paidsearchpodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Just do a Google search, right? We all know about Google. Keep Jason and I in business. Let's use that search engine like every day. Every day.
Yeah, so, start using it every day.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard of it before, look it up on Yahoo. You'll find it pretty easy. So anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure and subscribe to our main podcast. This is the After the Show discussion. And Jason and I will be back next week.
Okay, peace out.